Started. I'm gonna need us to keep each other accountable. I don't get to buy any of this just for the packaging. And I want you to promise that you won't either. Okay? Great. Now let's get in with it. I think all of us get drawn in by pretty packaging, at least sometimes. I know going through my Sephora loves list, which is too long and needs to get emptied out, and that's probably the subject of another video. Um, yeah, I'm definitely fall victim to that sometimes. Um, let's talk about 10 items from Sephora that I want. And I know that at least 90% of the reason I want these is because the compact or the tube or other piece of packaging is just really pretty. And I think it would look nice on my non existent vanity. Yes, all of my makeup lives in a drawer or a box, depending on which house I'm in. And I still want things to look pretty on my vanity. That's how broken this is. Then at the end of the video, we'll do a little bit of reflection on what do the items that I've talked about show me about patterns in my aesthetic whims, and can I use those to recognize that I'm interested more in the packaging and the product in the future, and also just talking about packaging and purchasing for packaging as a concept. I think if you're familiar with the beauty community, you probably suspected this would be on the list. I feel like everyone either lusts after this because the packaging is pretty or has already bought it. It doesn't seem like there's any in between there. And yeah, it is really pretty. I see a lot of people refer this as like old Hollywood glamour, like as though they're talking about maybe the 40s or 50s. I don't see that. I see a very Art Deco moment. This looks more 20s or 30s to me, and I love that. Uh, it is old Hollywood, but it's like if this is in the 50s, it's what you're finding in Norma Desmond's house. If that's a reference that's helpful, great. If not, there's probably a picture up, and you might be confused right now. Now, how do I know that I only want this for the packaging? Because it has a bronzer, and I never use bronzer. I don't contour, I don't bronze my skin. I have never figured out how to make bronzer look good on me. But yet. Next, for another item that you knew or probably should have suspected that would be on this list, the Cover FX blush duos. These are so beautiful. And it's in a completely different kind of elegance than the Charlotte Tilbury products. These are a double whammy. On the outside, they have this smooth, almost organically shaped surface. They sort of, to me, look like a skipping stone, like a stone you might find by a riverbed that's been um, polished essentially by the tides. It's so pretty, and then you open it up and it gets better because it's got the matte blush and the highlighter or glowy blush, whatever floats your boat. And the glowy blush in particular has such a pretty imprint on it. I don't think I would even use this if I had it because I would be afraid that that imprint would go away. One actually isn't available at Sephora, but it clearly belonged on the list. The M Cosmetics Serum Blushes. And these come in a little vial. They look like something you would find at like an apothecary's shop. And they have a dropper. And I think I just want to play with these. Not play with them on my face. I mean, I think that I want to play with the dropper. Is that reasonable? I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why they put them in the dropper. But is that a reasonable reason to purchase an item? I'm like, what, probably a 20 odd dollar blush? No. Stop. It is one on my list are the Clinique cheek pops. In particular, I mean, I like all of these, but in particular, I'm talking about the ones that they released, I think, last week as their summer collection. The usual imprint they come with is, I think, a daisy, probably, though I'm not great with flowers, so don't hold me to that. But their collection this summer has, I think, 4 shades, and they all have a different imprint on them. They're gorgeous. And I mean, why would I want a blush that's this big? Like, I tend to use 1 or 2 blushes all the time, so I do actually go through with them, though it takes quite a while. I shouldn't buy these. I just shouldn't. That's all we need to say. The compact itself is probably a pretty similar size to the Charlotte Tilbury one, but instead of being gold, the cover, it looks like it's glass, but it's probably plastic. Because isn't it always? Really pretty designs on them. I think the one that I particularly wanted was like a pale pink, and then it had some gold floral designs. Really pretty. Actually, Jouer in general has really pretty packaging on a lot of their products. But the products inside don't really draw me in at all. Like I've heard these are nice blushes, but there's no duo that screams to me. It seems like they have very, very light colors in some of them, and then very deep colors. I don't see a lot of colors that are in the middle that I think would actually be suitable for me. Yes, there are colors in there that I think are too light to be suitable on me. Ain't that a revelation? Okay, I didn't even have to look at the picture for this one. I just know what it is already, and not a fan of that. The NARS Exposed Cheek Palette. Isn't that just the prettiest thing? Oh my goodness. I want to touch this. Like, I don't even want to use this. I just want to touch it. I want to touch the compact, and I want to touch the blushes, but also don't want to touch the blushes because that would mess up the pretty imprint. Do you see the problem I find myself in? Interestingly, eyeshadow palettes are not generally a problem for me. Both generally, I don't have a lot of eyeshadow, but in particular, packaging doesn't tend to be a big motivator for me. There's very little eyeshadow packaging that I find particularly attractive or particularly unattractive. Only palette that I've ever really wanted for the packaging. Yeah, the ABH Norvina Mini Pro Pigments. I think this is volume 2. It probably says on the packaging. I'm surprised we don't see more packaging like this actually. This gives me mentally, I've been thinking of this as the Woodstock palette. I know that there's nothing particular about this packaging that should say Woodstock, though it does definitely aim for those sort of late 60s, early 70s hippie vibes. Colors inside are nice. They're kind of whatever. I mean, I like that light green shimmer. Pretty. I don't actually know how much I'd use it, but it's pretty. Otherwise, not makeup this time, but perfume. These Aerin perfumes. Isn't this bottle just so understated but pretty? I know what's really drawing me in is that little stone at the top. I don't know if it's actually a stone. I'm guessing it's glass, but so much like the Cover FX little blush duos, it has that texture to it. It looks like came from nature, and then they stuck it on that bottle. And I have no idea what these smell like. Absolutely none. I mean, I can read the notes, but I cannot I was gonna say picture, but I guess imagine would be the better word. I cannot imagine just from reading the notes what a smell is gonna be like, especially, on my body. Also, these are ridiculously expensive, but I feel like I know what they should smell like based on the bottle, which that's great packaging design. Good job, Aerin, but it's not a good reason to purchase. An item I've actually owned before, but I still want it just for the packaging. The packaging on this is unlike any other mascara I've ever seen in that it's wood. Don't know why that's so attractive to me. I mean, I do. It's because I like that natural packaging. We've talked about this like 3 times already. It is a totally average mascara. To me, it is not worth the, I think, 18 or 23. Somewhere in that range. It doesn't really matter. It's more than 3 times how much I usually spend on mascara, and I don't like it any more than the CoverGirl one I usually buy. So the price is irrelevant beyond that point. Pretty much everything from Kaja, honestly. Especially everything that's in that mint blue packaging. I think the one that I have written down, because it's like the most egregious offender, is the brow product from Kaja. Now, okay, I wrote the name down. The Brow Blowout. I don't know what that's supposed to do. I assume it's a brow gel. But you know what? I don't know what it's supposed to do, and it was on my Sephora loves list. Yeah, that's the level of drawn in by this packaging I am. I actually owned something in this packaging before. It was a lip duo. It had a liner on one side and like a skinny lipstick on the other. It was sort of a middling to fine product, but the packaging was real pretty, and it felt really nice. It had that NARS sort of rubberized plastic feel to it. I think that in this case, I'm drawn in equally by the packaging and the price tag. I mean, Kaja is not cheap. It's sold at Sephora, but it is not the most expensive brand sold at Sephora. For example, if I wanted something in that NARS packaging, it would probably cost me 1.5 times as much as something in similar vein from Kaja. And I like that blue mint packaging quite a bit more than NARS's black. So now that I've gone through this list, what can I learn about what really draws me in? I think we've talked a little bit about this already, but really pretty embossings are a problem for me. If something looks shiny and pretty and textured, I want to touch it. More correctly, I want to look at it and think about touching it, but not actually ever touch it because I knew that would mess up the embossing or the imprint in the product. I'm also a sucker for anything that looks sort of naturally derived. We saw this with the Tarte mascara, with the Aerin perfumes, and in the Cover Effects blushes. Really, you can pretty much see it in the NARS palette too, though I don't think I mentioned that. The NARS palette, though not naturally derived exactly, it does sort of look like you are peering into a river. And I find that very attractive and very alluring. I can also learn that I really appreciate tactile items. I love it when things have texture. I like to picture how something would feel in my hand. And that can be both a positive and a negative for me. That can help me to not buy something, even some of the things on this list. I mean, I know that the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze Glow is very pretty. However, I also know it's made of plastic. If I were holding this, it wouldn't feel luxurious with my eyes closed. It'd feel like a piece of plastic. Norma Desmond does not approve of that. I'm also just drawn in by this idea of glamour. The Charlotte Tilbury and Jouer duos in particular feel very glamorous. I like the idea of being someone who would own this. I'm not going to be a old Hollywood film star or look like one or achieve some aura or essence of one by buying the Bronze and Glow. I'm just not. So what does this mean going forward? Does it mean I can never buy anything pretty? No, of course not. I can use this reflection to help me choose items for my home. I know that I care about texture. I know that I care about sort of this naturally occurring feel, if not an actual natural material. And that is great information for when I look forward to decorating an apartment in sometime in the next couple of years. It's also good to know for, say, purchasing clothing or earrings, things where the aesthetics of the packaging are the aesthetics of the particular item. No one's going to know if my Tarte mascara that no one else ever sees because I get ready in my room is wood, but the aesthetics of wearing a pretty pair of wood earrings will last throughout the day, and they actually impact the utility is a strong word, but the utility of the item. You can still purchase makeup that's pretty. I just need to keep in mind that that is a secondary, really probably more like a tertiary consideration for me. I know that for me personally, packaging is a pretty low interest of mine when it comes to purchasing makeup. Performance is high up there. Being able to get the particular color that I want is a very high concern. Price, all three of those rank so far ahead of packaging. Yeah, as long as the utility's there, I don't care a huge amount about the aesthetics, though they are a nice perk. Hope you found today's video. I hope you found today's video informative, helpful, or even just entertaining. Let me know which products you want just for the packaging, and I hope you'll consider liking and subscribing. Catch you next time. Bye!